Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Live and Learn podcast. Hope you're doing well on this Friday, August the 8th. Another beautiful day, sun shining, and we are about 3 weeks away from the NFL season starting. We are 2 weeks away from the college football season starting. But even with all that, there's a lot going on this summer. I've been kind of taking some time off, laying low a little bit from the podcast. But over the next couple of weeks, podcast becoming more and more, doing previews on each division of the NFL season, talking some college football as we get closer, gambling lines, things of that nature. So, and of course, any NHL, MLB news as they come, and there's still lots to look at in the sports world right now with things happening. And wanted to start the show off today with some tennis, because if you were taking a vacation, spending a lot of time outside, don't blame you. Over the last week and a half, there's been a young woman taking the Canadian tennis scene by storm. Mboko, 18-year-old teenager, Canadian, started off the year in the 300s in the rankings, was able to go through qualifying to play at the French Open. Big accomplishment. Won a match there. Won a match at Wimbledon. And she entered the National Bank Open, and she wasn't really top of mind. There was Eugenie Bouchard's last tournament before she retires. Vasek Pospisil over in Toronto, last tournament before he retires. We got Dennis. We got Felix playing at home, all losing in the first round. Bianca Andreescu winning a match and then pulling out of her next match. What else is new? Leila Annie Fernandez won in Washington the week before, but she loses in the first round. So the Canadian contingent was eliminated. You're thinking, okay, it's a tournament, you're going to watch, well, I'm going to. But if you're running the tournament, if you're the national bank, the title sponsor, you're probably not thrilled not having, well, first of all, Novak Djokovic isn't playing, Carlos Alcaraz isn't playing, Arina Sabalenka for the women's side isn't playing. So a lot of your best players in professional tennis right now are not competing. So you're left looking around going, okay, how are we going to do here? Early August, heat wave. But then Vicky Mboko keeps finding a way to win. She first beats Sophia Kenin, American, who won the Australian Open in 2021. So beats a major champion. Then she gets Coco Gauff in the round of 16. Number one seed in the tournament. Won the French Open this year, Coco Gauff, her second major championship. And dispatches Coco Gauff in straight sets. An easy win if you watch the match. Wasn't particularly close. So she beats a second major champion along the way. She gets to the semifinal. She gets Elena Rybakina, a former Wimbledon champion from Kazakhstan, another major winner. She drops the first set, and she looked nervous. She looked just a little bit shook, being 18, playing a major champion, sold-out crowd, Montreal, night match, all that pressure. First set, awful. But then she settled in. And her seamless power that she gets from her ground strokes, her ability to return serve is her biggest weapon on the tennis court, to me. And she just continued to build momentum, take that second set. And even in the third set, yes, she dropped serve a number of times, but she found a way to bounce back. She would win long rallies by just making an incredible winner. Hurt her wrist in the third set, still overcame it. Found a way. And in the end, she beats Elena Rybakina after almost 3 hours and books herself a final match against another major champion, a girl she said she looked up to, Naomi Osaka. A 4-time major winner. Naomi Osaka, not at the form that she used to be before her boyfriend fiasco, and she's had a baby, and she's definitely not one of the best tennis players in the world anymore, but on brand name alone, she's Naomi Osaka. And Mboko, like her semifinal match, first set was not in it. Unforced error after unforced error, double faults. The first set was like 32 minutes. It was quick. But I remembered the semifinal and I went, okay, this match isn't over. Because Osaka gets frustrated. She kind of gives up on herself if things don't go exactly her way. And I heard Brad Gilbert say this on TSN radio. And Mboko just stays calm. Knows what she's about. Knows that she can overcome it. And she did, to her credit. Winning that kind of match, winning the National Bank Open at 18 years old in Montreal in front of friends and family. First Canadian to do so since Bianca Andreescu in 2019. And there's 2 different ways that you could write an article today. And people that still write stories. I think about this because I grew up and I still grew up. I still watch it every day. I watch Pardon the Interruption. And I think about, how are you going to write this story? How would you tell it if you were a writer? Now, there's writers I like that do it both ways. Somebody that gets criticized a lot that I think is just a journalist is Steve Simmons. And people hate Steve Simmons because he's a journalist and he doesn't kiss anybody's ass, which is what a journalist is supposed to be. Joe Bowen, not a journalist. I forget the Boston guy. He was awful calling games for the Bruins. Not a journalist. A homer, if you will. Not Simpson. So, how do you write it? The first one is, what a moment. What a moment. She did it. But Bianca Andreescu's already done it. So it's not like, okay, when Nick Taylor won the RBC Canadian Open, that was the first time in years and years and years. And it was off an incredible putt that Tiger Woods wouldn't have made that putt. So there was a lot there. But Andreescu did this 6 years ago. But still great. Teenager. But the other article that you could write that maybe nobody else will, but if you want to be a heel reporter, when's the downfall coming? And I don't like saying that, but if we're looking at Canadian tennis, it is the rule, not the exception. Milos Raonic, the next great thing in tennis, makes a Grand Slam final. We hardly heard from him ever again. Eugenie Bouchard makes a final at Wimbledon, loses in straight sets to Petra Kvitova, oh my God, she's great. We can market her. She's good looking. She's a good tennis player. Her sister's pretty hot. I mean, that's, all this great stuff. And then she falls off a cliff, and now she's known for pickleball, which is not a sport, by the way. Sorry, everybody out there. It's not. Recreational activity, not a sport, pickleball. We pivot. Vasek Pospisil. Oh my God. He won a doubles at Wimbledon with Jack Sock. That was cool. But never got anywhere in his singles career, for being honest. Never really got there. We keep going, okay? Denis Shapovalov, he's known more for whacking a ball into an umpire's face than anything he's done on the court. Leilani Fernandez made a final, loses a lot in the first round. So it's hard. Professional sports, tennis. We see Coco Gauff, a multiple-time major winner, has won one match since the French Open. One match. That's it. Lost in the first round at Wimbledon. Lost in the first round tournament before Wimbledon. Won a match here, then lost to Vicky. It's a negative piece. Don't get me wrong. But it's a piece nonetheless. This is hyperbolic because we are today and we saw the result last night. But she's a better tennis player than Bianca Andreescu, who won a major. She's a better tennis player than Leilani Fernandez, who got to a final of a major. She's got power on her racket. And as a woman, in particular, it is such a weapon. If we watch the men's draw, Ben Shelton, to me, has the best serve in the men's game right now. And it's a huge weapon, and it's a major part of why he wins. Huge part. It really helps him. For Mboko, her return of serve, it's not Serena Williams, but it's could come close. And Serena Williams had a great serve, which Mboko has a good serve, needs to continue to work on it, needs to get more first serves in. That's her biggest issue. But when somebody didn't get their first serve against Serena Williams, she would swat that thing back at them like it was a fly. And that was her superpower. That was a quick point where they couldn't go for all of it on their first serve, and it was just a little muffin back to her. And it was fantastic. Nobody could do anything with it. Maria Sharapova, good serve, good player. She was dominated by Serena Williams the entirety of her career, and she's a great tennis player. And Mboko could do that. And she's so young. She's 18. She's now 25th in the rankings. That's automatic qualifier into every major. Staying there. Started out the year at 395. Made more money last night than she made the entirety of her career so far. A life-changing tournament. A life-changing couple weeks for her. Puts her name on the map. Gets her ready for the US Open that's starting in a couple weeks. I think the story's phenomenal. If you missed it, sorry. I texted, friends, family about it because I'm like, this is interesting. Her matches were great. Drama. I mean, the amount of times she faced break points last night down of serving 4-2. Found a way. Finding a way to win the point. This could be a one and done. We don't know. But it's a great story for now. She could be something. Can she continue to pull off wins? Does she play at Cincinnati? She didn't really comment on that yet because it starts, so it's already started, the tournament. She'll likely probably have to play tomorrow, Sunday, possibly at the latest, to get going in the tournament. But it was great. The men's tournament was fun. It was different because there wasn't Djokovic, there wasn't Alcaraz, there wasn't Jack Draper, there wasn't Jannik Sinner. But Ben Shelton beat his countryman Taylor Fritz in the semis, defeats Karen Khachanov in a very entertaining final in a third set tiebreak. He might not be a star, Ben Shelton, because the top guys, we've been over this, they are so good. Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic. But he's right on that periphery. To me, he's the biggest star that the United States has for men's tennis. Taylor Fritz might be a better player, but Ben Shelton, to me, just has more. He's you either love him, you hate him, but you're going to have an opinion, which is what you want. So he's something that I think could be exciting for American tennis fans, watching Ben Shelton and people rooting against him. But he wins in Canada. But it was a great couple weeks for tennis. Good crowds in Montreal and in Toronto. They had to kind of stop play in the men's final after they learned that Mboko won, which the players had no idea what was going on. And that was kind of cool to see. In these scenarios, you don't really have a favorite. Other sports, okay, you love the Leafs, you hate the Canadians. That would never happen. But in tennis, in Olympic sports, golf, you root for your country. You root for a Nick Taylor. You root for Vicky Mboko. And that's unique and interesting. I like to see that. But great 2 weeks for tennis. We got Cincinnati starting. We got Cincinnati, there's a week off, and then the U.S. Open starts right after. U.S. Open will get going in a couple weeks. So you got the U.S. Open, you got college football starting around that time, and you got the NFL starting. It's kind of a jam-packed schedule for big events late August, early September. And you got, the baseball home stretch as well right there. So lots of fun stuff. Speaking of baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays are setting records. I want to get this correctly because I wrote it down on my fancy legal pad here. So the Toronto Blue Jays swept the Colorado Rockies this week. That's not really big news because the Rockies have 30 wins and it's August. They stink. But in sweeping the Rockies in Colorado, the Jays scored 43 runs in 3 games. 43 runs in 3 games. They also had 63 hits in 3 games, which is a modern record dating back to 1901, which wasn't yesterday, 1901, I believe, anyway. And this is while George Springer wasn't playing. You see, he has a concussion. That Varsho has returned, but Santander still isn't playing. But all kinds of success. The Blue Jays remained first place in the AL East. So those are all great. Sweeping the Rockies, they had to sweep the Rockies. They lost the series to Kansas City, which they shouldn't have, but they did. And you needed to rebound. But the more interesting thing to me is that the Blue Jays are heading into a series with the Dodgers this weekend, which should be fun. Scherzer versus Kershaw, battle of the old guys tonight, 11 p.m. first pitch. Might be a reason to stay up, Dodgers, Blue Jays, if you're a fan of baseball. But my more interesting thing is it's no longer a race, Blue Jays, Yankees, for first place in the American League East. It's Blue Jays, Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox, who have had a interesting year, to say the least. Slow start, fans pissed, want people fired. They trade Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants. Fan base pissed, want people fired, have a better winning percentage than San Francisco since the trade. Don't do a whole lot at the trade deadline. Fans pissed, want people fired, get Dustin May, get Steven Matz. Not exactly blockbuster additions. And yet, they've won 5 of their last 6 series. They find ways to win games. They just handed their top prospect, Roman Anthony, an 8-year, $130 million extension. And as of this morning, let's make sure we're accurate. I believe they're 4.5 back of the Blue Jays. But I like to be accurate, so I'm going to look it up just to be sure. They're 4 back. There we go. That's why you check. 4 back of the Blue Jays, 64-52 record. Yankees are 6.5 back, by the way, of the Toronto Blue Jays. And they will not be catching them. And you can take that to the bank. And if I'm wrong, then find a shovel and hit me. But Blue Jays, Red Sox is the race. Interesting. I predicted before the season that the Yankees would make the playoffs, which I'm becoming more and more confident in that prediction. The Yankees are a mess. They play horribly defensively. They don't care. They don't seem to care about how they play defense. Anthony Volpe can make error after error, and Aaron Boone can complain about it to the media, but nothing changes. And it's not just Volpe. It's their pitchers. It's their first baseman. It's constantly something with the New York Yankees. They're striking out a ton. Aaron Judge has come back and hasn't looked great. And he's banged up, and we know that. So it doesn't look good. I mean, just to make it pretty clear. Doesn't look good for that group. Now, they may still make the playoffs. They're in the 3rd wild card spot right now, a game and a half up on the surging Cleveland Guardians and a game and a half up on the Texas Rangers, who have played pretty well of late, just beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 in their series this past week. But even if the Yankees make the playoffs, I don't think they're going on a run. I don't think that if they are a wild card team, I don't think they're beating many of these teams. They play the Astros in the best 2 out of 3. I don't think they're beating the Astros. Could be wrong. Don't think so. They play the Red Sox. I don't think they're beating the Red Sox in the best 2 out of 3. They just don't. I don't think they scare many people in baseball. The way their team's built, the way that they go about their business, it's amateur, it's lazy. If they don't get home runs and they don't get really good starting pitching, they lose. Where other teams don't rely on that. And every team's schedule down the stretch gets tough. You look at the Red Sox this weekend in San Diego for 3. Then they're in Houston for 3. That's the Red Sox next 6 games. Not easy. Yankees hosting Houston for 3, hosting the Twins. So not tough. Astros always play them tough. Blue Jays, Dodgers for 3, Cubs for 3, Rangers for 3. That's a tough 9-game stretch. Likely 2 for sure, but very well 3 playoff teams that you're playing over the next little while. But the Blue Jays have gotten Dalton Varsho back. He's hitting home runs. Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is playing, I would argue, the best baseball of the season so far for him. Has his power again. Getting on base regularly. Singles, just being on base, being a factor. Bo Bichette's been red hot. Hitting more and more home runs. Varsho, half of his hits this season are home runs. He's been injured for a lot of it, but when he's on the field, half of his hits are home runs. So he's producing when he's available. They're a good team. And even after the trade deadline where you see, lots of deals, it was a record year for trades for Major League. I think it was a really good trade deadline with lots happening and lots of intrigue. The Yankees add a lot to their bullpen, and the Mets swing big moves, and the Phillies make big moves to their bullpen. Nobody in the American League did anything that special. And the Jays really didn't either. They acquired Shane Bieber, which is it's a swing. And I appreciate it. It's a swing, and it's either going to be a home run or it's going to be a strikeout and you're looking on 3 pitches. Because he hasn't pitched all year, and he had Tommy John. He's pitching in AAA. Do you trust him to play in the playoffs? Remains to be seen. But it's a swing. So there's something there. But, okay, Houston got Carlos Correa back. I'm not sure that's really that big of an addition. He's playing third. He's no longer a shortstop. He doesn't really hit for average. He's constantly hurt. He's slow. And the thing for Houston, it'd be a bigger deal if they had Yordan Alvarez healthy and they had Isaac Paredes, their third baseman, who's now out for the season. Half their pitchers got Tommy John this year, so they're not ever going to be at full strength. The Blue Jays could get 2 injuries. They're still a healthier ball club than Houston will ever be. Detroit, good team. Gonna win the American League Central. Have the best pitcher in baseball, one might argue, in Tarek Skubal. However, since the All-Star break, they don't look like a great team. Since the All-Star break, their division rival, the Cleveland Guardians, have a better record than they do. And I think your best selling point for the Blue Jays is I think there are 4 teams in the National League better than any teams in the American League. But that doesn't matter. You got to beat one National League team to win the World Series. Do I think the Phillies are better than the Blue Jays? Yes. Do I think the Mets are better than the Blue Jays? Yes. Do I think the Dodgers 100%. And do I think the Padres are better than the Blue Jays? Yes. But that doesn't matter. Because you got to beat one of them. Get to the World Series, okay, we got to beat the Dodgers 4 out of 7. Tough task, but let's say, okay, we have to do that. You're happy with that. You'll take that every day of the week. Every day of the week, you'll take that. And even in saying that, they got the Dodgers this weekend for 3. Tough series on the road. But can they win the series this weekend? Yeah. 100%. The Dodgers have been better as of late. They're trying to find their game a little bit. Ohtani's pitching, but he's been banged up. But they're getting guys back. And that's what should scare everybody in baseball is if they can get healthy. Because then they're the best team by a sizable margin. But there's less than 2 months left of regular season baseball. So now it's just, let's find a way here. Find wins, win our division, get a bye. Don't play in wild card weekend. And put ourselves in the best position to be successful. And I think if you do that, and Shane Bieber turns out to be able to pitch and have success, then you got the fan base and management going, we were pretty damn smart here. We didn't sell the farm, and yet we still had a hell of a season. Then you got to make decisions on Bo Bichette and whether you want to pay him. He's had a really good season. Really good season. Be hard to replace. Doesn't mean you have to sign him, but he wouldn't be an easy guy to replace. You could argue he's been their best hitter this year, even more than Vladdy. More impactful. He's been the best hitter in baseball with runners in scoring position. That's pretty damn valuable. I mean, you see teams lock up guys. I mean, the Red Sox signed Robin Anthony already. And I think it's a great, great contract. He's young, Roman Anthony. Batting .276 rookie season. It's pretty damn good. If you look at him, 2 homers, 19 RBIs. He'll get better. Only had 194 plate appearances so far, but this is what the Braves did with Ronald Acuna Jr. He signed a 10-year, $100 million deal. And it's one of the best, even with his injuries, it's still one of the best contracts in sports. The things he can do, 40 homers, 40 steals, won an MVP, his play in the outfield, $10 million a year to have Ronald Acuna Jr., where you saw other guys come up like Fernando Tatis Jr., who signed for $300+ million. And you see these players that just get crazy. Juan Soto, his crazy contract. All these guys that cashed in for way big money. Acuna, he did and he didn't. $100 million is a lot of money. But comparing it to his counterparts, and at his peak, you go, okay, he's better than some of these guys. It's a horrible deal. But I think this is the Boston Red Sox projecting going, we really like Roman Anthony. From all things that I've read, he's a really good kid. He has that star power about him. And we're going to hope that he turns out to be really good for us. And if he is, that 8 years, $130 million is going to seem like chump change. Because you're going to look around and go, look at that contract. Look at that contract. And he's in your locker room. He's in your clubhouse. And you got a low number. A low number, and you can bring in other good players to play around him, likely for a lot more money. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Just the way it works. So we got an interesting, fun weekend in baseball. We got some, fun races. I mentioned the Guardians, Rangers creeping up in the wild card. The Mariners are a game and a half back of the Houston Astros. Mariners are red hot. They got the Rays for 3 this weekend while the Astros had to play the Yankees. I think Texas and Seattle both could pass Houston. I think they're better than Houston. Because Houston, like I said, they're a wounded bird. They don't have their full team. Guardians now 6 back of the Tigers. Unlikely, but you never know. Guardians winning a lot. They just swept the New York Metropolitans in New York. They don't give up, those Guardians. They play hard. Credit to them. We get Astros, Yankees this weekend. Phillies, Rangers, fun series. Merrill Kelly, Christopher Sanchez on the mound tonight. The Mets in Milwaukee to play the Brewers. The struggling Mets playing the Brewers. Cubs, Cardinals, always fun. Red Sox in San Diego, as I mentioned. Blue Jays in Los Angeles. Mets 2.5 back of the Phillies. Cubs 4 back of the Brewers, who have 70 wins. Best in baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers, somehow the Milwaukee Brewers, 70 wins. Best in baseball. Dodgers 2 up on the Padres. That'll be a race right till the end. Baseball's fun. Good races, fun games. Good series this late into the season. We'll talk about it more on Monday, see what happens this weekend with Major League Baseball. Also, over the next couple weeks, it is the PGA Tour playoffs. Leg 1 of the playoffs is this weekend in Memphis. 108 degrees yesterday in Memphis, Fahrenheit. And the top 70 players play. And basically, like any tournament, somebody's going to win. Make decent chunk of change. But the bigger deal is the top 50 players, based on ranking points, positioning, a lot of it, how you do at this tournament, move on to next week. Then goes the 50-person field. The top 30 advance to the tour final at East Lake in Georgia the following weekend. The top 30 then play in a final tournament. The winner, the number 1 seed after this event, wins $20 million. That's right, $20 million at East Lake. 4 Canadians made the top 70. Taylor Pendrith, Corey Connors, Nick Taylor. Did I say 4? Corey Connors, Nick Taylor, Taylor Pendrith, and Mackenzie Hughes, made the top 70. So now, Corey Connors, Taylor Pendrith, they'll be going next week. Pretty much regardless. But it's battle for positioning. Making the year-end final guarantees your tour card, guarantees you for every major the following year. So it's like the catbird seat. It's a really good spot to be in. Taylor Pendrith, 1 under to start the day. Going to need a good weekend. Mac Hughes, Corey Connors were both 1 over yesterday. Not a great day for them. Looking at the top of the leaderboard, Akshay Bhatia, 8 under yesterday. You got Tommy Fleetwood, 7 under. Justin Rose, Harry Hall, the Brits had a really good day. Siwoo Kim, 5 under. You have Morikawa, Fowler, Scheffler, all in the mix, 3 under par. But you go from Memphis, they go to Cays Valley Golf Club in Maryland next weekend, and then East Lake. So 3 legs of the playoff. A lot of money to be handed out, pushing for position. And also, your play can have a big impression on if you're going to be on the Ryder Cup team, which is in September at Bethpage Black. Keegan Bradley, Ryder Cup captain, is in the top 70, is playing this week, will likely be playing next week as well in the top 50. He is the Ryder Cup captain. He should be a Ryder Cup player based on his season, winning in Connecticut, his home tournament, making a top 10 at the Open Championship. Might be too proud, might not do it. We shall see. But looking at both sides, Team Europe, Team USA, the captains watching how guys are playing, what their form is like going into this event, going into the Ryder Cup. So a big deal there, certainly, with lots happening and players battling and how they look going into the event. It's always entertaining. It's always, you're pushing. A lot of guys know, okay, I need this birdie to get in, to make the next weekend, to have an opportunity. So it's fun. And then you got the Ryder Cup after that. If you're a golf fan, these next 3 weeks are really good because you're watching the best guys. You're watching the best guys, and they're playing for a lot of money, so there's a ton of pressure. And Scottie Scheffler is still there, so you're automatically going, okay, well, who can dethrone him? But another interesting wrinkle is Rory McIlroy's not playing this week. And he's 4th in the standings, I believe. So he was no risk of dropping out of the top 50. So he didn't have to play. And you saw the weather report's supposed to be crazy hot all weekend. And wanted to recover, hasn't played an event since the Open Championship. But, I mean, it's interesting because Scottie Scheffler didn't have to play here. Justin Thomas, Morikawa, some of these guys didn't have to because with their position, they're set. But Scottie Scheffler's playing. He's trying to win some money. I don't think the PGA Tour liked this at all from Rory McIlroy. I don't blame them because it just opens the door for other players to do this in future years. And you don't want that because there's 69 players playing this week. So without Rory. Matty Schmid is playing by himself. He was the first to tee off yesterday. He's in his solo group. So I just think it makes it awkward. It makes it look weird. And I think if you're the PGA Tour, you have to do something where you're disqualified if you don't play in every event. I mean, the incentive is crazy money, but the thing is, Rory knows, okay, well, I'll be more rested to play the last two events than everybody else who has to play in the crazy heat the next 3 days, or the next 4 days, this whole tournament. So I'll be better positioned than them. I can go in and try to win his 4th tour championship. So, Rory's done some stuff Rory's Rory. He's done some stuff in the past where he skipped out on elevated events. He won the Masters and then kind of went away for a while. So he's had an interesting year where not all of it's been positive. A lot of it's been, what's Rory McIlroy doing? What's his approach here? Is he completely focused on golf? We don't really know, but he's not playing this week, and it doesn't make the tour look great. Just point blank. I think they need to put their foot down and do something about this moving forward because otherwise other players will take advantage of it. It is Pandora's box. But we'll look at that on Monday. We'll recap how the tournament goes. Let's pivot to the National Football League. Preseason football has started a number of games last night. Anthony Richardson was hurt. The Colts were playing the Ravens. I watched 3/4 of it. I need help. He hurt his finger, had to leave the game. Daniel Jones came in. They've been kind of battling for positioning in training camp of who the starting quarterback is going to be. So that's not great for Anthony Richardson. Couldn't come back, hurt his finger. The Colts had a corner who blew out his ACL in the game. So they're without 2 starters after last night's preseason game. Nothing yet on severity for Anthony Richardson, but he needs snaps, he needs reps. And he wasn't able to play very much in the preseason game last night, so that's not great. Some guys preseason, you don't need to play. Matthew Stafford doesn't need to play. Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to play much. Mahomes plays some of the preseason, but they've made that decision, him and Andy together. They like to do that. But the best guys don't. Richardson, who didn't play much in college, who hasn't been on and off the field in the NFL, he needs reps. He needs looks to get better. He didn't get many last night. And he could be out for a while longer now with an injury. So interesting there. Also yesterday, Rashawn Slater, the left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers, who just got a 4-year, $140 million extension just last month, tore his patella tendon in practice yesterday. He is out for the season, an all-pro left tackle, a huge part of that team, a huge part of the run game, done for the season. Massive blow for the Chargers. Brutal. I feel awful for him because he's just such a good player, and you want to see that go well. And I never want to see anybody get injured. But he goes down, and now you go and for the Chargers and you say, next man up. Last year, they drafted Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. He played left tackle in college. So in my mind, he will likely slip over. They signed Bradley Bozeman, Mekhi Becton they brought over from the Jets. So their offensive line is still solid, but it's not what it was, and it is a major loss. And for Joe Alt, you got to pivot and change positions midway through training camp, so there's question marks there. Plus, if you're the Chargers ownership, you just gave him that long-term deal, and he gets hurt. Way to go, Rashawn Slater's agent, because most of that contract's guaranteed for the player, so I'm happy in that sense. He'll be back, but he's done for the season. Brutal. Also, the Chargers signed Keenan Allen to a 1-year deal this week. So Keenan Allen, who spent his first 11 years in Los Angeles with the Chargers, spent last year with the Bears, was a free agent. He returns to the Chargers for his 12th season as a member of the organization. Good stuff. Keenan Allen comes back, reunited with Justin Herbert. But all in all, a brutal day for the Los Angeles Chargers. Other news, Teddy Bridgewater is back in the NFL. He signed a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a free agent. He coached some high school football. He signed with the Lions late last season to back up Jared Goff. Only 32, Teddy Bridgewater. Feels like he's been in the league forever. But Michael Pratt, a guy that had training camp, former Tulane quarterback, he's banged up. They do have Kyle Trask, who's been the backup in Tampa for a number of years. So Teddy Bridgewater, likely that 2-3 scenario quarterback for them. But he's back in football. Also, Tyler Huntley was with the Browns. Now with the Ravens, back with the Browns because of injuries to Dylan Gabriel. Kenny Pickett has been banged up. So now they have 5 quarterbacks in training camp, the Cleveland Browns. 40-year-old Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, who they drafted in the 3rd round, and Shedeur Sanders, who they drafted in the 5th round. Shedeur Sanders is going to start tonight for the Cleveland Browns in their preseason opener. Big opportunity for him. I don't think any quarterback in that quarterback room is ruled out of being the week 1 starter. Because if I'm Cleveland and Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders are neck and neck, I am starting Shedeur Sanders. Or that could be Dylan Gabriel, whoever it might be. Joe Flacco is 40, and you know what Joe Flacco is. He's a guy with a big arm that throws a lot of interceptions and will likely get you in that 7-10, 6-11 range this year. Shedeur, you could possibly be worse. However, You drafted him hoping he'd be something. Worst case, he's not great. You have a high draft pick for next year. You have a high draft pick that you can pick the quarterback that you want. If Arch Manning comes out of college, which I don't think he will, but if he does, you can take him. Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. DJ Lagway at Florida. Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. Quarterbacks coming out that you might like. You put yourself in that spot to draft them. Joe Flacco, okay. Yeah, we know what he is. But he's 40. It's probably his last year in the league. Let him be a backup. Or cut him. Which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility because Kenny Pickett, younger. Shador, Gabriel, rookies. I don't think you want to cut either of them because if you do, I think a team is claiming them 100%. And then Tyler Huntley, okay, you could cut him. But do you want to keep 4 quarterbacks on your roster to start? That's a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of roster spots for quarterbacks that aren't going to play. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's Cleveland for you. But I'll be watching tonight. I want to see how Shador plays, see how long he plays, how many reps he gets. Other news in the NFL, Micah Parsons is in a contract dispute with the Dallas Cowboys. He made it known a week ago today. He requested a trade from Dallas and no longer wants to be there. Jerry tried to just negotiate with Micah and not his agent, which you can't do, by the way. It's a bylaw in the CBA that you can't negotiate a contract with a player without his agent present. Now, will Jerry be hit on the wrist for that? No, nothing, because it's Jerry and he's the most important person in the league. And that's not even hyperbole. That's just the truth. Micah not practicing. He's holding in, so he's not getting fined. He's at training camp. But, I mean, do I think he's getting traded? No. Do I think he'll miss regular season games? I don't think so. The last time it happened with a prominent player, for Dallas in particular, it was Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith missed the first 2 games of the 1994 season, I believe. It might be 93. It was 93 or 94. And the Cowboys started the season 0-2. And then Jerry said, oh shit, I got to sign Emmitt. He's so important to our team. He gave him the money that he wanted. The Cowboys didn't lose another game the rest of the season, and they won the Super Bowl. Now, if Micah Parsons comes back, the Dallas Cowboys are not going to win a Super Bowl this year. Sorry. But are they a hell of a lot better with him on the field? No question. I think the Cowboys are better than people are giving them credit for, and we'll talk about divisions, and like I said, over the next couple of weeks, those are going to start. I don't think the Cowboys are dreadful. I don't think they're world beaters, but I think they're okay. They've added players, but Micah Parsons is such a difference maker. And a healthy Dak and some more weapons, they're a better team. I understand why Micah wouldn't want to be there anymore. Jerry's a pain in the ass. The Cowboys, the way they do business is just stupid. But that's the way they do it. That's the way that shit happens there. So we'll see. But I think he remains. I don't think he's traded. I think he'll play week 1 with a new contract. Terry McLaurin, Trey Hendrickson, that I'm not quite as sure. Terry McLaurin wants a new contract. He's 30 years old, really dependable, has been really Mr. Washington. Helped Jaden Daniels in his rookie year, be a big miss not having him. I would sign him. Jaden's still on his rookie deal. So if you give him a 3-year deal with a lot of guaranteed money, you're not killing yourself because you're not paying your quarterback anything. He's still on his rookie deal. You know Jaden's got 2, 3, 4, years 2, 3, and 4 where he's going to be on his rookie contract. Where, okay, Terry McLaurin, we pay him age 30, 31, 32. By the time you have to pay Jaden, the McLaurin deal is up. So it comes kind of a moot point. Comes off the books. He's at the age where you go, okay, probably time to move on from him anyway. We got the best out of him. He's a Washington guy forever. Guys leave their, place where they had success. Cooper Kupp has left the Rams. He's now in Seattle. Devontae Adams left Green Bay. Now he's in Los Angeles. So it happens. So just look at the scenario and go, okay, what can we do here? Okay, well, maybe this is the solution. I don't think it's that complicated. I like him. He gives you a chance to win. You're in a really tough division. You had an incredible season in year 1. Let's try to have an incredible season in year 2 with Jaden Daniels. Let's not make this more complicated than it has to be. Trey Hendrickson, Cincinnati's cheap. And they gave all their money to T. Higgins and to Jamar Chase. He's 30. He hasn't been as productive as TJ Watt. But he had more sacks than TJ Watt last year. Not as many pressures, but he had more sacks. He's the best player on a bad defense, on a really bad defense in Cincinnati. If I'm Trey Hendrickson, I'm going, okay, I want something here. They reportedly have offered him 1 year of guaranteed money. He doesn't want that. I don't blame him. It's a slap in the face. He's holding in, doesn't want to be fined, but he's not practicing. He's not doing anything with the team. Wants his money. These owners like to make it more complicated than it has to be because what's just the truth? A player has a contract, and in life you say, okay, you have a contract, you signed it, you live up to it. Sure, I agree with that. But the NFL precedent, and this is what has happened, a person has a contract, and they go, I am performing a hell of a lot better than what I'm being paid. I would like to be paid more. And that has happened where people get more money. So now you have to. I'm not saying it's right, but it's what happens. It's the system that is ongoing. So if that's the system, you deal with it. So in this scenario, you pay Trey Hendrickson. Because if you're Cincinnati and you're Zach Taylor and you're the GM in Cincy, if you miss the playoffs again, you're getting fired. You are getting fired, no question about it. Zach Taylor, to me, should be on the list of first coaches fired. That's a prop every year that you can bet on. Mike McDaniel, Zach Taylor, 1, 2. And then Brian Daboll right in that mix as well with the Giants. Those are the guys that are on the hot seat. Zach Taylor probably should have been fired last year, but he remains employed. Won't happen again. with Joe Burrow at the helm and Jamar Chase. You just paid all these offensive guys all that money. Joe Burrow had 3 interceptions last year. Incredible season. MVP type season. But you missed the playoffs. The Steelers had a better record than you with their shit show at quarterback. The NFL's back, and that's just, it's so great. It is. It's phenomenal. It's also the summer, and I would say one of the sports that takes over the summer is the UFC. You had UFC 318 in New Orleans, which was great. Dustin Poirier's send-off. They then went over to the Middle East, had an event there, was fun. Now you have 2 weekends at 2 events at UFC Apex. One was last weekend. We have one more this weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the UFC is shaping up over the next couple months to be incredibly compelling with some great fights, some great events at some cool venues. So after this weekend, next weekend in Chicago, for the first time in a decade, with my most anticipated fight of the year, Dricus du Plessis defending his middleweight title against the Wolf, Khamzat Chimaev. And we'll talk about that more next week here on the podcast. My most anticipated fight. It's also just a really fun card. But you have that in Chicago. Weekend after, the UFC goes over to Shanghai. How about this for a setup? 8 a.m. main card starts. 8 a.m. Oh. Over in Shanghai with the time change. And then you got college football all afternoon, week 0. Oh, God. Fantastic. Week off. Then they go to Paris. They love going to Paris in September. Nasruddin Imavov fighting Caio Barrio in a title eliminator. We got the middleweight championship fight in Chicago. These 2 guys next in line. The winner of this fight is the next man up for the middleweight title. Imavov from France, fighting at home. Barrio, part of the Fighting Nerds. His fellow teammate Mauricio Huffy is fighting Benoit Saint-Denis, also of France, in the co-main event in the lightweight division. Awesome. We keep going. Next weekend, Noche UFC, which is typically a pay-per-view. It is not this year. But in San Antonio, main event, Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva. Diego Lopez fought for the title in April. Came up short against Alexander Volkanovski. Gene Silva is undefeated in the UFC. He is a colorful character, to say the least. He's like a rabid dog when he gets in the cage. 28, still young. If we look at him, what he's done since entering the UFC, they call him Gene Lord Silva. Barking like a dog, doing his crazy antics. Won on Contender Series, beat Weston Wilson, first round TKO. Beat Canada's Charles Jourdain, second round TKO. Beat Drew Dober, third round TKO. Knocked out Malik Baghdasaryan, first round TKO. And then submitted Bryce Mitchell on the same Volkanovski-Lopez card in the second round via ninja choke. 5 fights in UFC, 5 finishes. He's 8th ranked. He's fighting the number 1 guy. He wins this fight, he's probably next in line for the title. Because he gets finishes, because he's entertaining, and because people just know him and they know he's crazy. It's a great fight. A great fight. So that's fun. Also that night, with TKO starting, UFC's got like a a deal now with boxing. You got Canelo Alvarez fighting Terrence Bud Crawford later that night, September 13th. So this event, then you get the boxing event. What a day with college football. Week off. Then they go to Perth, Western Australia. Carlos Ulberg, the number 3rd ranked light heavyweight, fighting the number 8th ranked light heavyweight, Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes, who fought John Jones 5 years ago, I think beat John Jones 5 years ago, then went on tailspin, lost 5 fights in a row, but he's rebounded. Has won 3 straight, all via finish. He gets Carlos Ulberg, is from Australia. His first main event spot, 5 rounds. Love this fight. Next weekend, back to the States, we got UFC 320 in Las Vegas, October 4th. Rematch main event, Magomed Ankalaev fighting Alex Pereira. They fought in March. Ankalaev got the victory, becoming the light heavyweight champion, 3-2 on the scorecards. You knew this was going to happen. Pereira's a star. You're going to rebook this. Makes all the sense in the world. Love it. Co-main event. Defending his title for the 3rd time this year is Merab Dvalishvili, the Machine. Fought in January, fought in June, now fighting in October. The man is he's a machine. He now gets Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen finally gets a chance to become bantamweight champion. These two guys are technical. They're both good on the ground. I think the style matchup is so interesting. Love the fight. Great co-main event for the bantamweight title. Also on this card, Yuri Prohaska fighting Khalil Roundtree Jr. Both in the light heavyweight division. Prohaska, a former light heavyweight champion. They both have lost to Alex Pereira. Both guys have not fought Magomed Ankalaev. To me, the winner of this fight is number 1 contender. But you put it on the same card. I love it. You see that fight, the winner, you bring them out cage side, the winner, you square them up. That's how you build fights. And this style matchup is just crazy. Then we keep going. The next weekend, UFC returns to Rio. Normally, you got Rio, you go, okay, the king of Rio, Jose Aldo, he's retired. But you still have Charles do Bronx Oliveira. I didn't think he'd return this soon. But reportedly, he told the UFC, I want to fight in Brazil. That's where he's from. He fought for the lightweight title in June 28th. Was knocked out in the first round by Ilia Topuria. Nasty knockout. Put to sleep. He's returning October 11th, June 20th, just a couple months after that knockout. But the UFC's going to Rio. He wanted to be on the card. He gets Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev, also a guy that likes to fight. He fought in March against Justin Gaethje, short notice. Lost, but good showing. He then fought in June in Azerbaijan, back home. Got a really nice victory. And now I'm going to forget. See, I watched the fight, but I forget who he fought. Rafael Fiziev, who's a good fighter. He fought Ignacio Bahamondes. Nice victory for him. So Oliveira, Fiziev, both guys well-rounded. Oliveira's very good in his jiu-jitsu, but Fiziev's a power puncher. He can get you out of there, but so can do Bronx. 5 rounds. Love it. The following weekend, the UFC returns to Canada. A fight night in Vancouver. The main event has not been announced, but it's been reported it's going to be a Nurmagomedov in Canada. Umar Nurmagomedov, who's been out, had surgery since he fought Merab in January, lost for the title. Sounds like he's going to return 5-round main event against Mario Bautista, who's won 8 fights in a row, who's really a polarizing guy. He beat Patchy Mix back in, trying to remember the pay-per-view, May, maybe? Yeah, June or May. Oh, June in Newark, pardon me, June. But he beat Jose Aldo. He's beaten Patchy Mix. Big opportunity for both. Again, that hasn't been announced, but I think it will be. Also on the card, Jasmine Jasudavicius, the best MMA fighter, male or female, Canadian right now going. She's the number 5 ranked women's flyweight. She's fighting the number 1 ranked women's flyweight, Mana Farrow, who fought for the title back in May. Both women were on the card. Farrow's from France, 2 fights, both in Canada this year, which is interesting. But a big opportunity for Jasmine. She wins this fight, she absolutely could be in that number 1 contender type position. Also on the card, announced last night, Marlon Chito Vera going up against Ayman Zahabi of Canada, of Montreal, of Fortis MMA. He's number 10, Chito number 7. He beat Aldo in Montreal. Another opportunity, you're fighting a guy higher in the rankings. Chito's never been finished in his UFC career. He was supposed to fight Bautista back in June. He got injured, so he gets back into the cage against Ayman Zahabi, UFC Vancouver. And then the following weekend, you get UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. Tom Aspinall, his first heavyweight title defense against Cyril Gane. Finally, these two guys are going to meet. Finally, these two guys are fighting. Also on the card, Alexander Volkov, Gelton Almeida. The number 2 and number 3 ranked heavyweights. Winner of that will get the winner of the main event. I love when they do that. So they're going to different places. Fun fight nights, really fun main events. That's what the UFC's got to do, and they're doing it. At the end of this month, they're going to Shanghai. They got a show in Chicago. It's a pay-per-view. They'll have the New York pay-per-view. That sounds like it's going to be Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight title. That'll be early November. They're also going to Qatar in the end of November. November 22nd, they'll be in Qatar. So I love the different shows. I love bouncing around. This weekend, show at the Apex. Some solid fights. Main event. You have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who's won 5 in a row, fighting Roman Dolidze. Dolidze is a tough, gritty fighter. Hernandez is definitely better on the ground, but he's solid in his striking. He wants to get to the ground, wrestle. He's a minus 340 favorite going into this fight. I would have to agree. I like Fluffy to win, but I think this fight is more of a decision because both guys are good. So I like Fluffy via decision. Co-main event, Steve Erceg fighting Ode Osborne. Erceg was supposed to fight Hung Young Park, who ended up stepping in short notice to fight Tetsura Taira last weekend. So now Erceg Osborne is now a bantamweight fight instead of flyweight. Erceg, such a crisp boxer. Since he jumped into the UFC and he had a bunch of success, he's hit some pitfalls, you might say. Lost to Brandon Moreno earlier in the year. Lost to Kai Kara France. Got knocked out last August. Lost to Pantoja but went 5 rounds, was super close. So he's lost 3 in a row. But you fought Moreno and Pantoja in there, 2 of the best. And Kai Kara-France just fought for the belt in June. Usyk, I still believe in him. I think he'll bounce back. He gets the win. He's a big favorite. He should be. Yasmin Lucindo fighting Angela Hill. Angela Hill, 40 years old, the ageless wonder, has won 2 in a row. You can get her at plus 148 at FanDuel right now. I like her to win that fight via decision, but I like Angela Hill there. Andre Fili, Christian Rodriguez, fun fight. I like that one. C-Rod, a minus 245. Fili, plus 194. Sentimental pick is Fili because I think he's just a great dude. But C-Rod at that weight class, he's just bigger. Good wrestler. I like him to win. So, some solid fights. We'll preview UFC 319 next week. We're going to talk baseball from this weekend. We'll talk about the NFL preseason, anything that happens there. So stay tuned for all that. Great to be back with all of you today. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you Monday. I'm Noah Warren, and this is the Live and Learn podcast.